Hello, Abigail here with the astrology for this week. Y'all, there's only so much happening this week, and I'm really excited. So much has happened with the eclipses last week, right off of eclipse season. We hit the autumnal equinox, we hit the Grand Trine with Uranus and Pluto and the Sun, the square with Pluto and Mars, just so much. And I'm not saying that there aren't some testy aspects this week, but it's not all at once. It's not every day. There's only really like three ish major things happening. And it feels like this is kind of a moment to take a deep breath. Also, this week is the lead up to the full moon in Aries. So we're going to finally be out of the eclipses the week after this. So, yeah, checking my notes. Yes. And also, Mercury is going to switch signs. Stuff is starting to move. We're starting to get out of the eclipse energy. It's still wrapping up, it's still doing its thing, but we're not in the thick of it, as it were. So, be excited for this week. Like I said, these are trickier aspects to deal with. It's not going to be like completely easy and free, but we're not dealing with the weight and the mass that we have been dealing with for like 6 weeks. So, yeah. All right. So, starting Tuesday, we have Mercury square Jupiter. Mercury is in Libra. Libra is square Cancer, where Jupiter is. Jupiter and Libra in this square, there is a dialogue between the balance of a Mercury in Libra and the need for regulation and kind of coming to a consensus, and the way in which Jupiter works, which is sweeping, expansive, expanding energy a lot all at once. Sometimes good things, sometimes it expands things that are really intense. And in Cancer, Jupiter is exalted, which gives it this extra kind of push and shove and pull. It's almost as if Jupiter is the ocean and Mercury is like, whoa, that's a lot. So there is going to be this feeling, especially as we head into the beginning of this week, of having to re regulate, rebalance. There might be a sense that things just are kind of wonky and off. Also, you're going to be coming up against choices where you're going to have to understand the context of your capacity within the context of a much bigger decision. So, whether it's shifting a job or moving, you're going to be brought up against what you actually have in this moment and what Jupiter wants to promise for the future, which might be a little much for what you have to deal with now. Um, this is also going to be a hard time to say no. And you will be confronted with no, and you're going to have to find a way to say it. Thankfully, with Mercury in Libra, the tools to find a gracious way to say something are at hand. But you might be in a position where just because of the situation you're in, you have to say no to something that seems really good. Or you might have to say, I want to participate, but I need some space and time to reconsider it. And that is completely legit. And you should. My thing is like if someone, unless there is a legitimate time deadline where something is genuinely going to be done and over with if you don't make a choice right now, like actually, when making a decision, especially financial, or just something that has a lot of weight to it, there is no situation in which you shouldn't be allowed to have a couple days to consider it. That kind of manufactured anxiety and pressure to do things, to sign things, often is a cover for something that's not quite what you want and what you need. So take time to sit in the discomfort of the square to weigh your options. And if you don't get time to weigh your options, you're really going to have to tap into your instincts. If there is some reason that you get caught up in this Jupiter square and you have to make a choice, this is the time to lean back on those tools that you really fine tune during the eclipses and make choices that are best for you. But I think specifically in this moment, it is about choices that are best for you, not good generally. Something can be really good in a general sense and not the right thing for you. So remember that this week. Then on Thursday, we get Mercury opposed to Chiron. Chiron's an asteroid. Not everyone brings up Chiron or works with them, but I do. They resonate deeply with me. They're the asteroid of pain and trauma, and they've been in Aries for a while. And, they're also retrograde. So we are going back over the stuff that we were dealing with earlier this year, especially in the themes of Aries. Chiron in Aries is about self advocation and recognizing pain and allowing the anger of hurt to exist, to not suppress the ways in which we have been caused pain. So often, if have ever been a victim, there's this whole thing about not stirring the pot, not ruining someone else's life. Well, there's this complete, like, crazy place where, like, someone ruined my life and hurt me, and now you're telling me not to, not to, it's not even hurting them in a malicious way, but to hold them accountable. And Mercury opposed Chiron is about justice and is, in an unhealthy sense, it can be that covering, that hiding of pain and trauma, and people not wanting to face what is actually happening. But in a healthy sense, it can also be activated to be like, hey, this isn't right. We need to change it. So you're going to be faced with, especially if you are processing and taking care of your Chiron placement, you're going to be faced with people who are just still stuck in what can be a toxic Libra trait of balancing stuff that is bad, like making things okay that are not good, while you are currently in the phase where you're in the more developed portion of a Libra journey, which is being like, no, we need to recenter at whatever cost. And if that includes people being held accountable, that is a cost we are willing to pay. If you are doing anything with the court cases or anything that is sensitive, firstly, keep records. And secondly, know that you will have to kind of advocate and verbally stand up for yourself this week when it comes to your pain and your trauma. Even if it's not in a legal sense, if it's with family or someone who's hurt you, you're going to have to confront that pain in order to rebalance the dynamic, the communication, the connection. Um, like I said, the themes this week are not easy, but thank goodness they're not all at once all the time. And then our final moment is Venus conjunct the South Node. So this is going to be bringing in echoes of those eclipses because they all happened. The North Node eclipse happened in opposition to the South Node pretty directly, 15 degrees. It's at 18 degrees. And then that final eclipse was a South Node eclipse, even though they were a bit separated from each other. I think it was 11 degrees, but it's still a South Node eclipse. So we're going to be getting the echoes of those situations, especially the relational stuff that's still unresolved. Um, that energy is still being processed. This is also a very kind of big past life moment. If you've been dealing with past life dynamics or reoccurring themes in your life, this is an opportunity to really recognize them and problem solve in a tangible way. And maybe this is you reaching out for karmic remediation. Maybe this is you getting a book on past life work. Whatever it is, there is a need to deal with these kind of larger than life patterns that come with karmic issues. Um, in a more practical, like current sense, this is just all the relational stuff that we have not dealt with. Because the eclipses were just too much. And it's kind of the final eclipse release. So if you still feel as though things are not rectified or figured out or still kind of up for interpretation, this Friday, especially on a Venus day, is going to give a lot of clarity and a lot of, um, well, productive answers. We may not like those answers, but those answers will exist and be offered to us around this time. So be listening, be communicating, be connecting with those you care about. It is important to do this work so that we don't have to continue to redo it over and over and over again, which can be a theme of the South Node. Anyways, my dears, that is the astrology for this week. If you have any questions or comments, you can pop them below. But this week is a very kind of interpersonal, nitty-gritty week. It's what happens when the personal planets have aspects to other planets and placements and points in the sky, aka the South Node. But all of this is helping us untangle and understand and advocate for ourselves better. Not necessarily fun or exciting, but essential and necessary, which very much sums up a lot of the themes of both Virgo and Libra. To me, there's a lot of similarity between those signs, just a different process, similar topics. Anyways, my dears, I will see you in a different space and time. Have a blessed week.